Ladies and gentlemen, day 139 of Russia's invasion, year 9 of Russian Federation's war against Ukraine. My name is Andriy Shevchenko. On behalf of the team of Media Center Ukraine, I would like to welcome all the journalists telling the world about our struggle for freedom. Our guest today is Roman Khimyak of the Lviv Regional Military Administration. He's responsible for youth and sports. Uh, Anna Romana, the floor is yours. Would you tell us what has changed for youth in these past few months? Obviously, the old tools don't always work these days. Additionally, there's a huge number of young people who came to Lviv or to the region from combat areas from which they evacuated. What does this mean in your work? Please, the floor is yours. Hello, everyone. Slava Ukraini. Thank you for having me here. We know that there's different young people. Many people came to the Western territories, to the Lviv region. Many people, young people, also went to Europe. But perhaps the common vision uh, that is common for all young people is that we have understood that things will never be as they once were, but things could be better. And starting basically on February 25th, on the 24th, the invasion started. On February 25th, we already organized a volunteer headquarters, including the regional youth center. Communication was already established prior to that, and this was just a trigger that set everything in motion. Um, until recently, we kept tabs on how much humanitarian aid went through youth headquarters and various volunteer initiatives. Later, when we found also mental and legal support when we started working with the Spivye Hub. Most of these things are done through young people, educated young people, and of course, this is mostly volunteer work. This is really inspiring when you understand that, yes, we have to win because there are people who want us to win. The youth organization, the sports organization, in many places have become part of the backbone of this civil society that is now working for Ukraine's victory. How will these youth milieus bring our victory closer? It so happens that we have this backbone as Blast, the scouting organization, the community of Ukrainian youth, the Youth for Christ, etc., who have these different networks that is vertically integrated. Because this integration in Ukraine, as well as with Ukrainian diaspora, for instance, the Blast, we see that it has given results because so Blast, in terms of financial support, in terms of logistical support, they truly have done so much. Particularly the Regional Blast Center, yes, it's our establishment, our institution. I'm sometimes struck by how young people, students, uh, are so capable of solving questions that are difficult to solve for professional logisticians and heads of big transport companies. So obviously the the church milieu, or the church community, also was very supportive. It's not just Christian support, not just Christian communities, but also logistics, transportation, cooperation with their colleagues in other regions. So young people have been working 100%. Sport is performing this kind of function because I think any positive emotion that you can get in the time of war is very important. And these athletic events, they are also platforms for communication, for getting to know people, for exchanging opinions. And we've started 5 big projects, such as volunteer games and sports vacation, uh, which we presented before the International Children's Day, and 700 participants were there. Of course, we took security concerns into account to draw even more people. In order to draw even more people, together with the emergency department, we invited Patron, the dog, the famous dog Patron. I had no idea that there could have been such great results, such a great feedback. And then after that, thanks to many sports federation, every week by now we've had 19 different events. numerous kids, including kids from families of internally displaced persons. I mean, we don't deliberately stress, we don't deliberately segregate. Oh, here are children who came from Mariupol, and these are children who are from Lviv, and it's going really well. It's sports. It's again, there's the emotional component. Again, the volunteer games is the first project where we brought together the strongest volunteer milieus that had been working in the train station in Arena Lviv, that had been working in various logistical hubs, and we created this kind of um, pentathlon, uh, pentathlon, so to speak. This one day, 5 discipline competition, and it lasted from early morning until night. There was football, volleyball, marksmanship, etc., etc., etc. And the first question that arose immediately after the award ceremony: when's the next event happening? And we agreed that the next event would be an all-Ukrainian event to draw our colleagues from other strong organizations like the Hospitaliers, etc. If we have questions from the room, please let me know. Yes, microphone, please. Pan Romane, I have a question. Today we were at the Dynamo Sports Complex, and the athletes say that there's not a lot of competition for athletes. You mentioned this for children. Will anything be happening? What are the nearest kind of official all Ukrainian competitions or events that are going to happen? Thank you very much. It's very difficult to train and work where you don't see the short-term prospects. The Lviv region, of course, is a much better position here than other regions. Like this year, we have a shooting championship. We're preparing for the Ukrainian championship for in archery. We're preparing a track and field championship. Again, many questions are being resolved in the present conditions, and we're probably all expecting, because many people love football, the king of sport. So we're all awaiting on the 23rd that big football is going to start in Ukraine. This process was already announced by Vadim Hutsait, the Minister for Sports. Again, this is in agreement with the Association for Football of Ukraine. So local events and regional events we're hosting. We've had some all-Ukrainian championship. Again, we have to understand that these won't be as mass attended. For instance, shooting or is not going to be as attended as, for instance, a track and field. So again, the security concerns are extremely important. But then another question, sorry, to follow up. Trainers and coaches say that there are not many new kids coming into different sports. What should we do in this aspect? Because really, parents are concerned. Some parents are concerned, and what can the authorities do in this? Well, what we've said, what I've said earlier, when we started the athletic vacation project, one of the goals was to show that at least we here in Lviv, because the communities are also involved, so we show many managers of various sports are present, who say where this can be seen and where this can be practiced, this particular sport can be practiced. So it's, again, these are not projects about competition and achievement. It's more about outreach and providing information. And yes, it's true that many parents and children who have left their home regions, many who have come in, we're planning that in September, where the school year starts, it'll start in a much more robust competitive process. We understand that some training bases now host non-athletic organizations, which of course we have to take into account as well. So we try to do our best. We try to do our best with what we have. Святослав Дорбачук, Перший Західний, First Western Channel. I wanted to hear more about the summer leisure for children. What is being planned for children? Will this be camps? Will this be athletic camps, summer camps? Could you tell us a bit more about what that will be? So, as far as camps, it's not really the competency of the sport administration. It's more the youth administration. But this process is there. Again, these camps have to take the security concerns into account. There are private initiatives. As for what we do, we do rehabilitation camps, sports rehabilitation camps, for instance, on the basis of the Western Rehabilitation Center. This is at the border of the Lviv and Zakarpattia region in the village of Yavora. These are local camps, camps with the sports schools, for instance, the Lake Navaria, where rowing events take place. There's more detailed information on this for July, for instance. It can already be found on our social media, in the website of the Regional Military Administration. Sometimes, sometimes there is things are corrected, but the so for instance, the you know an air raid might push things forward, but all this information is open source. It's available. Just in July, we were planning 15 events as part of this athletic vacation, sports vacation. This is done by our administration. We also have many cases, many instances of various communities. For instance, the Sambir Rayon, Sambir district, about 11 communities. Together with UNICEF, they did the Poruch project, which involved about 2,000 children. So these things take place, and they're not as large scale, but we do our best to communicate about them quickly. If there are additional questions, please let me know. I will ask. It seems that the Lviv region may become a relatively safe place for professional athletic competitions, perhaps even international ones eventually. My question is there, does the region have infrastructure there, and does the region see this as any kind of prospect of becoming a hub? I would say opportunity and also need, because we understand we have to tell the world about ourselves, whereas a sporting event is a great tool for outreach. So in terms of the sports that were already present in Lviv, of course, the opportunities are there. Thank God, and thank the armed forces of Ukraine. None of the sports objects have been destroyed, unlike in Kharkiv or Mariupol or Melitopol. So all of these objects, all of these sites are there. They're ready to roll, ready to be used, and we're planning these events. We're starting with smaller ones, and then of course we plan to expand. Again, I should note that in previous years we've had a lot of these sites were built. Whether we're talking about track and field, skiff, the skiff complex, which is a second category, it can host European tournaments, or Arena Lviv, or the two stadiums, Stadium Ukraina. Um, it provides the opportunity to host high-level matches. So again, depending on the local security concerns and local security situation, we are always prepared. The communities, the businesses are involved and are prepared. The businesses are very friendly, very supportive at the moment. So we are prepared for our part. Last question, a more philosophical one. If the youth, if it's understood with young people that helps create this patriotic spirit and morale that helps us win in war, what would you say about sports? What is the place of sports in war, in wartime, and everything that's going on? So I would say, to simplify, sports always perform two functions: A, health, and B, image. I think this image component, both in terms of building athletic infrastructure, we're talking about ambitious projects like large European or world championships. For now and for some period after the war, this will not be the top priority. But again, I think the overcompensation in terms of health, in terms of movement, in terms of positive emotions, I think this should be there. I think it was already starting to become part of this kind of state policy even prior to the war, because this is an environment that is both socialization and communication with people, all of this in a very positive context. I think that it won't take too many years before we see movement in the same way that Scandinavian countries see movement, where most people, like over of people are involved in some kind of movement. With us was Roman Khimyak, head of the Youth and Sport Administration of the Lviv Regional Military Administration. Thank you for this conversation. Our next briefing is scheduled for 2 o'clock. We'll be talking with the team of the Lviv National Philharmonic. Please